neurosciences of music can be traced back to the late 1990s, when the first Congress of this field was organized and many pioneering findings were launched. How were your expectations for the development of the field at that time?
So my involvement in music and neuroscience started probably a few years earlier, where there wasn't really a community. There was a few individual researchers that were in the field, and that community I saw developing at the end of the 90s and maybe in the early 2000s with the first conferences. And I had actually great hope that would sort of really create a field of people that were interested in studying musicians, as well as the effect of music exposure and music training, as well as looking at the health and wellness benefit of music interventions. And all of these aspects really have come to fruition over the years, and it's wonderful to have that kind of a community that has similar interests and is really advancing the field.
Yeah, I totally agree. I see the same feeling, especially in this conference. I had somehow this kind of feeling of community, everybody supporting each other.
Yes.
And this extremely high level of the presentations. Okay, second question. We've just spent 4 days in an inspiring neuromusic conference in Helsinki. How would you describe the most important moment of the Congress?
Well, for me, the most important moment really happened over the first few symposia, because I really liked seeing the research on singing in the brain and how singing and forms of singing can be used to overcome dysfunctions and impairment. So that was really the highlight for me. I'm pretty sure there were other highlights during the conference on various other topics, but my personal interest was definitely met on that first day.
Yeah, it was a wonderful symposium, or actually two of them. Then a question about the future. How would you think that the key topics of the research have advanced in the next, say, 10 years or something like that?
So obviously we have already made advancements in a sense that research is less focused on finding differences between, let's say, musicians and non-musicians, or various musical skills and talents and not having these musical skills and talents, and is now also more focused on understanding how these skills develop and what it means to engage with music over longer periods of time. So these longitudinal studies that are going on, as well as studies that look at causality of music making and what kind of an effect that has on the brain, if it has an effect, and what kind of effect it has on cognition and behavior. I think those are all really new advances that have come over the years, and they have also brought our field forward. And from my interest in health and well-being as a physician, I really like the research that uses music and music making and musical tool as a way of improving skills or helping patients to recover skills and facilitate recovery. And I enjoy reading as well as doing myself, having the ability to use music as a very rich stimulus to help anybody, and in particular patients that have disabilities or dysfunctions or impairments to see if that rich stimulus can be used and applied to make people's lives better.
So do you think that it requires some new kind of thinking from people in medicine?
Yes, definitely. I don't think that kind of thinking was there, 20, 25 years ago. I think it has more evolved. I do remember many years ago when Robert Sartora told me that when he writes in his grant application that he really wants to study music, he sort of like uses a descriptor of music by basically saying it's just modulated sounds over time. And I do know that feeling because we also frequently couldn't quite use exactly the term that we wanted to use and had sort of like used descriptors. But over the years, people have, and as part of this conference, have realized more that we are really all about serious science and really want to do the neuroscience that is necessary to understand how music works and why it works and how we could use it to the benefit of everybody. And I think that seriousness applied to that field, the rigor of the studies, have made it much more acceptable to study music and neuroscience and the translational aspects of music and neuroscience towards health and well-being.
Yes. My last question is your advice to a young person who wants to pursue a PhD in this field. Would you go forward towards more theoretical, methods-oriented, or practical topic?
Well, I definitely would tell people to follow their heart. I mean, that's so like what I have done myself and how I have combined music, neuroscience, and clinical applications. That's what I would tell everybody to pursue if that's what they feel they want to do. And there are opportunities now. Whether or not somebody develops an emphasis on one aspect or another aspect is not as important as long as you don't forget sort of like the bigger picture, that even if you're more interested in big data analysis or in technological aspects, the idea is still to develop something new, to discover something new, to find new data that support the overall idea of music and neuroscience.
Thank you so much, Professor Schlaug, for participating in our podcast.
Thank you so much.